Hey geeks, I'm Trey Guillotine, and today I'm talking with Farrar Hudkins about the new seasons of Doctor Who. Let's geek out. Farrar Hudkins, you might remember him from the Time Fest video I did maybe a year ago. He was one of my guest speakers. And so we're glad to have Farrar Hudkins, who does have his own YouTube channel. You can find at Farrar Hudkins on YouTube. How are you doing today, Farrar?
I'm pretty good. I'm enjoying springtime in New York. I lived for 15 years in New Orleans, and I'm not quite used to the incredibly low humidity here. I'm like drinking lots of water, but it's pretty anyway.
Yeah, not having humidity is an insane concept to me. Like right now, it's just muggy and hot.
Yeah, it's kind of weird to walk outside and your glasses just don't fog up immediately and you're like blind for 30 seconds. That's a new thing for me.
That doesn't happen there.
Yeah, bizarre, isn't it?
What is this sorcery? I don't believe you at
It's
all. You're
black
lying.
magic. It's got to be. It's got to be dark magic
Yeah.
of some kind.
As of now, we are 2 episodes into the new season of Doctor Who. It did introduce one of the Doctor's companions for this season, Nardo. Or is it Nard or Nardo? Nardal, sorry. Played by Matt Lucas. What do you think about this character?
They did a good job in introducing him in not giving us all of his information at once. In the Christmas episode, I remember thinking that guy looks familiar, but I don't remember him exactly. The way he was introduced, he did mention that the doctor rescued him from inside the body of that headless machine from the previous Christmas episode. And so that was taken care of. That's one of the things that I'm really getting used to with the new series is that there are a lot of things that we assume happened off screen, and there are a lot of things that are explained with a very quick line of dialogue in such a fast-paced series that we just have to kind of accept it and go with it.
I don't know. For me, I'm not a fan of the actor in general. I've never been a fan of the actor, so already I was kind of a little put off by his being there and being such a main part of the show now. But I have to say, like after the premiere episode, the pilot, I'm okay with him being there. He's not so much like this mainstay companion, but he kind of feels like the Alfred to the Doctor's Batman. Like he's there to ground the Doctor. He's there to support the Doctor, but he's not going to be a huge focus for the most part. Like he's kind of like the conscience or the subtext of what the Doctor says and does.
Yeah, I think he's kind of an extension of the TARDIS in a way. It's kind of known in the series that the Doctor has like a mental link with the TARDIS, but because it's a mental link, it's not verbalized. So to have that kind of interlocutor there in the form of Nardal, and also to have like a helpmate when he needs one, I think that was a good addition to the cast. And they didn't use him too much, which was good.
Yeah, like he's basically the guy that carries the spare screwdriver. Speaking of new companions, what do you think so far of Bill Potts?
Having only seen the preview, I was really worried that because of the way she was dressed and her makeup and the way she spoke, that they were trying to reboot the series with another Rose character, like someone from kind of the inner city working class with that accent, the way she talks. As a result, I was pleasantly surprised with this character, and the way they introduced her was very good. The way they made sure the audience knew why the Doctor picked her up and was interested in her was also very good. Previous companions, I have never been quite sure why the Doctor picked them up, apart from the fact that the audience needs a foil for the storytelling. This time, it was very clearly articulated. He looked at her and there was something different about her. He said, when most people don't understand something, they frown. When you don't understand something, you smile. Which is a great insight into someone's character. It shows that she is inherently curious, and she has more of that human curiosity than most people. and it's an intelligent curiosity. And as a result, the Doctor thinks that she might be just special enough to share these adventures with. And he rethinks the idea of being a loner, which I think is a good thing, because I got a little bit tired of the dark, brooding Doctor. This was more of the character, more of the adventurous, curious character, the information seeking, the adventure seeking. And I'm very glad to see the Doctor not quite as much doubting himself and wondering, Clara, am I a good man? He he's doing something that we don't quite know what it is yet because he's at the university and he's been there for a long time and he says it's a secret. But they didn't play that up to the extent that it spoiled the adventure, and I really enjoyed that.
I gotta say, I really she was just kind of a breath of fresh air. She's very 2017. She's very millennial. She asks the questions that kind of the audience asks, like, "Oh, why do the Daleks say exterminate? Why do they have a British accent? Why do you have a Scottish accent?" Like, she asks those questions that a normal companion probably wouldn't ask. Like, she kind of calls the Doctor out on his BS. And I really like that about her. And she's just a really fun addition, and it's definitely, she's a lot more upbeat than the 12th Doctor is. He's still pretty cool, he's still pretty upbeat, but he's also that very grumpy Doctor, which I really like. So they're a really good contrast of each other, and she kind of makes sure to bring him down from being that grumpy Doctor. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of what she's going to have to offer and what she's going to add to the show in the upcoming upcoming season.
Yeah, I think what made this episode work was that we had a lot of that new feeling, with, like you say, a millennial and someone who's very 21st century. But also we had a lot of that classic Doctor Who feeling with the benevolent alien who is not necessarily interested in destroying the enemy, especially when he finds out that it's basically just a miscommunication. In the old days, I guess partly due to budget constraints, the stakes weren't always that high. It wasn't always the planet's going to be destroyed, or billions of people are going to die, or the universe is in danger. Sometimes it was just very, very simple, that there was a danger and we had to figure out what that danger is in order to defeat it. And a lot of the adventure was in the gaining of knowledge. And the fact that that was kind of the climax and the denouement of this episode, I thought was really a nice way to have that old school feel with the modern trappings of modern storytelling, modern characters, and the way television is done these days. It didn't feel too slow and it didn't feel too fast. I think the story was well paced and the characters were well written.
Yeah, I agree. And I like that. I mean, pretty much the entire episode wasn't trying to defeat it. It was like, okay, it can follow us this far. Can it follow us this far? Can it follow us through time? Can it follow us through this Dalek war? It was all just to answer a question, as instead of trying to find the thing to defeat it. And and you're right. I really enjoyed that. It was very intellectual than it was trying to destroy the Dalek army or whatever.
It was nice to see the Movellans again. Speaking of low-budget Doctor Who, that was one of the very low-budget Dalek stories, and I wonder if we're going to revisit them, because they were really interesting characters. Androids versus Daleks. Those were the people in the white suits with the little handguns. Yeah, that we saw for just a brief second. That might have just been a shout-out to the old fans, or it might have been a teaser for something that's coming. It does seem from the preview that we're up for a lot of nostalgia in this season. Like, I saw first-generation Cybermen. So if they are trying to strike that balance of old and new, having the Doctor go back and revisit some of his previous adventures, maybe even address mistakes that he's made in the past, that would be a good way to have the Doctor be a little more human, in that he has regrets, but he doesn't have all of that nagging self-doubt that we saw in the previous season when he was still trying to figure out who he was with Clara.
Yeah, I'm very happy about where the Doctor is and how the Doctor's acting in this season so far. Just watching the first two episodes, not to give any spoilers away, but I feel like this is the Doctor, and this is the season that I personally feel Peter Capaldi deserves. Whereas, like, his first season was very rocky. The second season, he had a lot of really great moments, like the Zygon invasion, and his anti-war speech was just hit. That for me was his Pandorica opens, and I'm very so far I'm very happy with how the season has gone, and both with Peter Capaldi's performance, which in my opinion has always been the best part of him being on Doctor Who. The episodes themselves have been blah, but he was really strong. He's always been really strong, and there's a reason he's now my favorite Doctor. But I am very interested to see where the season is going, because even as of the second episode, there's not a lot of we don't have a lot of answers. We don't know what the deal is with the vault. Like you said in the previews, there's a lot, like the first generation Cybermen, or even the return of John Sims as the Master, as well as Missy coming into the season in some point. So there's apparently a lot that's going to be happening. We have no inkling of what all that's going to be just yet. So I'm very excited for this season, and unfortunately, I'm already know I'm going to miss Peter Capaldi as the 12th Doctor when he regenerates, which will be happening this season at some point.
Yeah, another friend of mine and I were talking about that. We basically were saying, "Gosh, wouldn't it have been great to see this kind of episode as his first episode a couple of years ago, and to know that we had 2 or 3 years of this ahead instead of just one season." But I guess that's that.
Yeah, it's kind of heartbreaking. And Peter Capaldi said that the reason he's leaving is because he doesn't feel like he can continue giving his best performance, which I can appreciate that, knowing your limits and not wanting to, phone it in. So I absolutely respect him for his decision on leaving, but I'm definitely going to miss him already. I'm already going to miss him as the Doctor.
Yeah, well, also, not not to be too cynical, but that could also have been code for I don't really think the material is up to snuff.
That's entirely possible. Because I mean, like his first two seasons were not Doctor Who's greatest seasons.
Yeah, and you could clearly see sometimes where he was acting his socks off, doing the best that he possibly could with the material he was given, but the material itself just wasn't that great.
Just some final thoughts on just the pilot and what you, I guess, what do you hope to see, or what questions do you have, or thoughts that you have going into the rest of the season?
Well, I hope that the last season isn't just a nostalgia trip for Peter Capaldi, knowing that he was a fan of Doctor Who back in the 1970s and that John Pertwee was his favorite Doctor because he was at that age. If that's all that we've got, it could be very rocky, because if you indulge your actors too much and if you indulge your writers too much, you can alienate the audience. If, on the other hand, they do manage to strike that balance between old and new, as I think they did very successfully with the pilot episode, or with the first episode, the pilot, I think we can have a very successful season. If they don't dwell too much on the Doctor having lost River, and as a fan of the old Doctor Who, I'm kind of half hoping and half not hoping that there's also a reason that the other picture on his desk is that of his granddaughter. Because if he does revisit his own past, he can't cross his own time stream except in the case of emergencies. At least that's what we've been told in the Doctor Who universe. But he could definitely go back and revisit some of his old companions. And one of the things that I've always wondered is why he never went back and checked up on his granddaughter. I mean, he supposedly left her in the hands of a good person, but all the same, it's very strange to cut ties with the only member of your family you have left, which was definitely the implication in those days, that she was his only family. So if, prior to Capaldi's departure, his Doctor gets to revisit his own past, under the auspices of revisiting the people and the places and the times that he knew with some fresh adventures, it could be a good way of telling good stories without making the Doctor Who universe seem too small and without constantly bringing back the same characters from the past two seasons, going a little bit further back into the literature. So I'm looking forward to some more hardcore adventure, some hardcore sci-fi, and some more plot-driven episodes as opposed to character-driven episodes.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And if they do, go back in time and see some of the classic, both classic villains and classic characters, I would love that because I didn't grow up with Doctor Who. I got into it in the new series, so all of the past Doctors and all the past villains and companions, I missed out on that. So I think it would be really cool to see that, and they definitely have actors who could portray past versions of the Doctors or past companions. They already did that with An Adventure in Time and Space, the biopic about Peter Hartnell, about the first Doctor. So I think that would definitely be something really cool to see. I'm very excited about this season and about what to expect from a new Doctor and a new showrunner even in the next season. There's a lot to look forward to in the coming times for Doctor Who fans.
Yeah, and I think that for people who aren't necessarily into Doctor Who yet, last week's episode was a good starting point because we got a good introduction to the Doctor through the eyes of a new companion who was also introduced, and we got introduced to his position in space and time, how things work, why he's on Earth. Really, you got just enough backstory to start watching the show if you haven't started yet. I think it's a great time to join up and not feel the need to carry all of that previous material on your shoulders with you.
Thank you, Farrar, for talking with me today. Like I said, you can check out Farrar's YouTube channel. It's Farrar Hudkins on YouTube. So give him a like, give him some subscribes, check out his videos. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and share it so other people can join in the conversation. And follow me on all the internets. Check out templeofgeek.com, your one stop for all things geek. And subscribe to my channel to geek out some more. Thanks for watching and have fun.
Thanks, dude.
So Captain America, Thor, Hulk.